Hello, this is, I think, my second explanatory video, and the fourth video in total. And I wanted to start by thanking people for their messages of support and encouragement. For those who see fit to exercise their ego and attempt to flex what little intellectual capacity they have, just go to hell. It's really childish, and with me it's a waste of time. But on the whole, thank you to those messages of support. I am a TI, as I've said before. Last night I had a very difficult night. I went to bed at about 11:30, and I was prevented from sleeping. Now, this has been done in the past, and they do it using various methods. In the past, they've sped up my heart to keep me awake, keep my blood rate up. And they've done other things. They've also sped up my heart in the past so much that I physically aged in a day. My skin got incredibly dry. I had massive bags. I was a mess in the space of a day, and that improved over the course of that week. But that's one of the things they can do by speeding up your heart rate, and I think they can also affect the condition of your skin by doing other things. I'm not sure how, but I've watched my skin change, and it's a result of them. It happens in a very short space of time. But back to last night, I was kept awake. I was taunted as usual with the V2K. They also create noises in the room, in my environment, that reverberate off objects in the room. So it sounds like the noises are at some point in my vicinity, not just in my head, but in the room with me. But it's them talking, or it'll be noises that I've heard from computer games or from the TV, or animal noises. While I was laying in bed, they made my chest area, like my heart, very, very warm. That whole chest area here, that whole area, and my bosom made it very, very warm, so that the flesh density actually changes. They made my skin irritable. It feels like all the cells in your body are moving like that. So it feels like your skin and everything in your body is just moving. All the cells are moving like that. Every time I wanted to close my eyes, they'd open them. And I do mean that. They will just open my eyes. It's not make me open my eyes. They will open my eyes. Every time when my eyes were open, they then make me close them by irritating my eyes, or just closing them for me, like imitating that sleepy sort of closing a bit and then, you know, like that. They kept that going. They made my muscles ache while I was in the bed. So it's like no position that I got in would be comfortable, because as soon as I changed position, if my skin was touching anything, if my skin was touching, like if my arm was touching like that, they'd make the space between where my arms were touching very, very warm. They'd make the skin feel very irritable, or they can make me sweat almost immediately and make my skin feel very clammy. Making my muscles ache so I feel the need to stretch. making my muscles contract, pulling the bone into certain positions. Or they do this when I'm awake as well. Every day the muscles around my spine and my neck, they will tense, so that when they release it occasionally and I feel like I need to stretch, I can feel all the bones and hear all the bones in my neck cracking. And it's because they've been held in this intense pressurized position for so long, so tightly, that when I finally move, they'll just creak. They do that to me every day. Just make me feel like I've got a weight on my shoulders, like I've got someone sitting on my shoulders. Last night they will make my joints very, very hot, and I mean all my joints, my shoulders, my hips, my ankles. They haven't done my knees yet, but I'm sure now that I've just mentioned it, they'll start doing it. They'll make them feel very, very cold, so that they'll ache, or they'll make them feel very, very hot. They like using the heat with me because I find it very irritating. It's very uncomfortable. They'll make my skin super, super sensitive, so that I feel every single little thing that they do tenfold. Last night they managed to interfere with my bowel and bladder function, so that I'm not left to go to the bathroom naturally. So they will constipate me. They will contract and expand my sphincter, and I can't do anything to prevent them from doing that. So going to the toilet for me is a nightmare. They'll churn whatever's in my bowels, they'll churn it, and make the area very warm, making it very, very uncomfortable. Sometimes I won't be able to do a wee. If that offends anyone, I'm sorry. It's all natural stuff. It should be natural. They're preventing it from being natural. They'll prevent me from doing a wee, and I can feel the urethra being tightened. So it's like that pipe, that tube, they will fill up with blood so that it swells up and it can't allow the urine to pass through it. And when they feel like it, they'll release all the blood, and then it will, work. Yeah, so every morning when I go to the toilet, they will make it a nightmare for me, making it very painful, pushing it down, pushing it back up again. And I'm talking about fecal matter. They can move it. And I'm not mistaken about this, because I've waited a long time to decide what's actually going on. And it's not just the sensation that it's moving up and down. The material is actually moving up and down, plus the fact that they'll make it very, very painful for me and open and close my sphincter. Aside from the fact that going to the toilet is a very private thing, and they are invading my privacy and humiliating me by just being there, they're also humiliating me by preventing me from going on my own. It should disturb me, but it's been going on for so long now that I just don't. I'm past that point. I don't care. I just want it to end. So for those TIs out there who may be thinking that their toilet isn't normal, if you're thinking that and you just can't believe it, I'm telling you that it's possible that they can do that. They constipated me for about 3 weeks once. It was incredibly painful. Very, very painful. They can encourage you to do things that you would normally do but at inappropriate times, like wanting a cigarette, needing to go to the toilet, wanting a cup of tea, feeling hungry. They can just do these things to you, and I think it's mimicking the brain patterns that occur. Anything that goes off in the brain when you say you want a cup of tea, they will map and emulate. So they'll put it back onto you, onto your brain. And it's like they're just communicating with your brain. But yeah, so last night I didn't get to sleep until 6 o'clock. I woke up this morning. As soon as they woke me up, because I don't wake up naturally, they wake me up, and I just wake up like that. There's no natural coming into consciousness. They will just wake me up and I'll be there. They'll usually force me to go to the toilet very uncomfortably. They'll make me very, very warm, very, very hot in the bed, unnaturally hot, unnaturally cold, so that I have to get up because I'm so irritated. They will cause my muscles to work in my genital area, so they'll rape me, they'll make me very angry, trying to force me to do things. Things that I would do anyway, but the psychological game is that you didn't want to do these things, we're forcing you to do these things, and it is very frustrating. So I was woken up this morning and I wanted to go back to sleep. They wouldn't let me go back to sleep. I couldn't get back to sleep, so I should be knackered, but oddly enough I'm not. Part of what they're doing, I believe, part of the experimentation is to see how people cope with all of these extreme stresses, and implementing some sort of state whereby these things are just about bearable, and measuring that, because by rights, with what they've been doing, I should be insane by now, but I'm not. And I think they're keeping me at they're doing something to my brain that is just keeping me from going off the edge, and I think that that's what they're measuring. I've written a little list here of what I want to talk about so I don't forget, or so they can't take me off track. As I said, they talk to me constantly, and right now they're sort of talking very slowly like this and just listening. There's about 3 voices. One of the females is talking.